Okay, looks like I'm live again. I have no idea what just happened. It was like, uh, I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain what just happened. I don't know. There we go. Was I mean, I was on for some amount of time, wasn't I? I don't even know when I stopped being live. Or was I never live? What the fuck happened there? You were responding to me. Weird. Because that like went along right when I was checking the live site, and I was like, why is this not working? It's working now. Live.howls.cc. I'm not tired. I'm just bored. There's not been that many viewers lately, and that makes things a lot slower, like mentally. Hey there, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a minute. Well, the stream has nothing to do with Little Space anymore, so I will warn you that. It is all adult topics. We adult as fuck up in here now. Littles were a very big attention requirement. That's how I'll put it. I think I should bring my logo into the screen. So that way that's there for recordings. I need a hot tip. I need a hot tip so that way my tip amount on here doesn't still display 0. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Ejiro. Hi, Lumi. Good morning. Where is... This is... Whoop. Motherfuck. That is Streamlabs. I don't know if I changed any of my Twitch panels. Yeah, no, these are all... Man. Okay. Edit panels. There isn't even a donation link here at all. Oh, yeah, there is. Okay. And it goes to Streamlabs, Twitch Mr. Bones. That goes to Count How. Submit. Shop Mr. Bones is still Shop Mr. Bones. The Discord link. I don't know. I don't know on that one. Let's go ahead and change it. Streamlabs. Go to house.cc. Get the working Discord link. Go to the dashboard. Put that in here. Go here. Go here. Ow. How video assets. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Merch. And this one links to house.cc. We don't even need this one at all. Done. Why did those not fucking change? Submit. Submit. Awesome. Beautiful. We did it. Did you just donate? Oh. I love you. Why didn't it make the noise? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Now I don't look like a doofus with an empty tip jar up here dancing around. Well, that sounds like you need a job. Sounds like I'm gonna need to start pimping somebody out. All right, kiss the ring, bitch. No, really though, you need a job for yourself, for your own self mind space. Why don't you apply for that COVID fucking unemployment shit? I get money every week because of it. Sounds like that business needs to have closed because of COVID. This is my business. Fuck, sorry. I almost that was a I'm gonna cry if I don't start laughing. No, really though. If you go on to file my PUA, that'll get you to the page where you can start signing up, and you just be like, hey, COVID ruined my job. And they'll be like, here's money. Here's money from since May. Or, you know, Leave $300 per week since May on the table and walk away from it. Or, you know, do that. These have frilly on the cuffs, and I like it. Makes me feel fancy. I need to get one of those things that ties around the neck. A cravat. A cravat. I don't like this here. We know who I am. You know who I am. I don't know who I am. Who am I? I have amnesia. Who am I? Well, sit down. Someone bring me a mirror. What do I look like? I can't. I'm just imagining waking up with amnesia and this is my life. And being like, wait. Really? This is what this guy does. None of this makes sense. Bill Clinton is the president. You know, Monica. Am I right? The blue dress? Am I right? I remember so many people went as Monica Lewinsky. Various stains on their dresses. Dude, interviews with her, like modern interviews with her, are just crushing. That girl's fucking life was ruined by that incident. And she was so much a victim. And I just didn't even get that when I was younger. Like, she was a girl in her 20s who the president was flirting with. So she gave him a blowjob, and now she's famous forever. How are you going to get a job now? How are you going to get a job? Name: Monica Lewinsky. Previous position: White House aide. There's no, I didn't either. I just always thought, like, I don't even know what I thought. That she and Clinton were equals that hooked up? Like, no. And we didn't, like, think about things in that way as a culture until Me Too, but the forerunners of our generation kind of thought that way, but haven't fully looked back on our past yet with that lens. So that was the first time I had ever, like, re-examined that case and just been like, this poor fucking girl. Like, she can't do anything now. She's fucking Monica Lewinsky. How can she come to your work and get a job and you not make dick-sucking jokes? Yeah, no, they didn't. I mean, there were in the impeachment trial and stuff, the only people who really pushed that like narrative were already anti-Clinton when that happened. So they then used that to push more anti-Clinton propaganda, which caused people on the Democrat side to jump into, no, it's because he's so cool. It's because he's so fucking cool and he plays saxophone. So he fucks. And it's like, yeah, but he does. He does play the sax. Yeah, he is that dude. He's very much that dude. Oh. He wears Ray-Bans and plays the sax and probably does the hip thrusts while he does it. I want a sax. I'm not gonna lie. But I promise to stand on street corners at midnight playing mine. I'm gonna live the life. You know, it's not just an accessory for me. It's a way. It's a Tao. I'm thinking yeah, something similar. Probably this vest for sure. Yeah. I don't know, something a little more bluesy. Maybe like a dark suit. I could still wear the ears. Oh, the Johnny Mnemonic suit would be perfect. Because then I would look really homeless. She'd be like, what is up with this guy? I don't... I don't know. The joke of other people's confusion never got old to me. Going back to that fucking Freddy Got Fingered era. They don't understand that this is something that I've been thinking about for years. Just like my dream vacation to Miami, where I rent a convertible and wear a white suit and get a speeding ticket. It's just what I need to do. Dark purple with velvet embellishments? Shit. Movie hits different at 32. It does. There was a lot in that movie that really was very different. Was very, very different. And I fell asleep, though. I fell asleep. I don't know. Sometime after the baby, I guess. Fuck you, Tom Green. This is the Tom Green Show. This is my favorite show because it is my show. Tom Green was a very special guy. You know? National treasure of Canada. I wasn't watched well, so I stayed up late watching all sorts of things. The first show that used to really get me to like what Absolutely. The Eric Andre show is just the Tom Green show. The original Tom Green show that was just like that that was a talk show with him and Glenn Humpnick. Yeah, it's just two black dudes instead, which like I mean the other black dude isn't even like that different from Glenn in the terms like or like they all have that same thing. Like even the dude on Conan O'Brien where it's just like a heavier set dude that laughs constantly. That's your job. Be bigger than me and laughing at all my jokes. Yeah, but like Tom Green would destroy his desk on every episode. He'd pull the camera off the fucking thing and carry it with him outside all of a sudden and just like now you're in a sketch. Yeah, very much just fucking same mood. And you know what's funny is I don't really like the Eric Andre show. Maybe I'm just over it by now. Like that, maybe that's it. Because that's kind of how I feel, where I'm just like, can we advance this? I do like that he often has various machinery built into his desk. That makes me pretty happy. Yeah. Yeah, and like to 16 and then it's not funny anymore. Cause but then you like have friends that watch late night cartoons and stuff, and you're like, would you guys still watch this? And you're like, they're like, just try it with weed. Makes me wonder though, what age group finds you the funniest? What age group what age group would my comedy hit best with? Is it my own age? 20-year-olds. 20-year-old girls. Um yeah, it's true. I do a lot a lot of weird movie and song and TV references of yeah, really early 90s shit that is early MTV stuff. Yeah, intellectual ones. I was like that as a kid though. I was probably worse as a kid than I am now. So I was like, if people don't understand, they should look it up. I wasn't like I should tailor my message to my audience. Fuck. A lot of what I a lot of my childhood was liquid television on MTV, which was like Ren and Stimpy, Aeon Flux, Oh Canada. Um yeah. Yeah, pull up the Kids in the Hall. Um like oh god, what was the Canadian SNL? Fuck. I don't remember, but it was good. It was good. And In Living Color. Oh my god, In Living Color was fucking hilarious. That fucking shit needs to come back. We're gonna get nothing but black comedians and one weird ass white guy Second City TV. Yep. And that was where you had fucking John Candy and the two dudes that were in Strange Brews. Like the guy who was in fucking Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And Loving Killer is still fucking relevant. Like, that's why I said they need to bring it back. Like, not only because SNL sucks ass right now, especially when it comes to like being lukewarm on politics, bringing back an all black cast comedy show right now, be some good shit. Be some good shit. Fuck, I haven't watched it since I was a kid. Well, I mean, I've watched various Jim Carrey sketches. But that's about it. Fireman Dave? Come on. We don't have like a super goofy comedian anymore, or right now. I think the last one was Will Ferrell. But I don't know that there's one like in our age group. When I look at SNL and shit, like they're all hipster kids. I'll raise the boy. That's from Bambi. That's what the big elk says at the end. I'll raise the boy. I'm gonna audition. I'm gonna go audition for SNL, and I'm just gonna recycle old quasi physical comedy routines from like Jim Carrey and goofy weird comedians, the ones that are willing to be like if you're not willing to do that as a comedian, you fucked up. Chris Farley. Fucking and you know what's funny is I don't even think that kind of comedy is the funniest kind of comedy. I like snappy, like the super meta deep references in Xavier Renegade Angel are my favorite kind of comedy. Right? Like go backwards in time by eating bacon and smoking cigarettes. 'Cause it takes minutes off your life. That's my favorite. But there's a spot that's open for the weirdo comedian that is goofy and silly, and we just don't have one. We just don't have one right now, and it's sad. All of them are old now, and they're like, I can't wiggle like that. I'll break something. Oh, man, there's a line in Ace Ventura 2. He's climbing a mountain, and a guy comes in a helicopter, and it's like, Ace, it's too steep. I'd turn back if I were you. And Ace Ventura looks at him, says, if you were me, then I'd be you. And I'd use your body to get to the top. Just beautiful. Beautiful. Those movies, Ace Ventura and Ace Ventura 2. Sarah Silverman, Amy Schumer. Oh, God. Are we not out of that era yet? Or are we just at the tail end of it? Is that what happened? Like the I'm politically aware because I'm with her. And that's not like me being anti-feminism. Slightly woman hating, still racist. Yes, yes. Accepting of gays, but still classifies them as like a different group, as other. Would never vote for Bernie. Bernie's way too out there. Not trans people. Not trans. Like, fucking, yeah, no. This is the liberal. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about liberals. They need to fucking go. Get out of here. We haven't seen that like radical acceptance kind of group come through yet, of like every social group is good, we're all cool, we're not gonna fucking make fun of any groups anymore. We're not just gonna keep shrinking the minority that we make fun of. We're gonna just stop. That is something I don't get. Like when I talk to older people in my family, like they get the idea of that like you're able to make fun of less and less things over time, but they don't get that you should just stop. Oh God. They feel like I did this with grandma the other day, where she's like, you're not allowed to make fun of anything anymore. And I'm like, okay, let's go through this. And it comes like when I finally get around to the like linchpin of it, she just wants to be cruel to people. And I'm like, okay, are you looking for permission to be mean to people? Because you have it. No one's stopping you. We just all now say that's shitty. And we judge people who do that as shitty people. Well, cancel culture. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it's fucking cancel culture. Fucking cancel culture, guys. Callie! Callaroo! Killy kill cow. Yeah, exactly, sister. And like that term is just stretched like cellophane thin, you know, across this issue that they actually just want to be cruel, terrible people. It's like, you know who's the most canceled? Alex Jones. Alex Jones is the fucking most canceled ass motherfucker. And that dude still shows up on TV. You can't get canceled. But I got banned on Twitter for saying the N-word. What are you doing, Callie? What do you do, Callie? What you do, Callaroo? Killer Callaroo? A song about pooping? I like to poop. That's the scoop. If you want the news, it's about the blues, 'cause I'm on the John. This is the John song. I want to sing along when I am pooping. Hope it don't take too long. Like that? Yeah. Trisha Paytas. Oh, fuck. Yeah, no. And that's why like I really liked that documentary we watched. Um, but like um it it makes me see him as a victim. Not a victim, that's the wrong term. I just see him as I'm sad. I'm just sad for him now. But yeah, no, we that was a good documentary. Um Caught in circumstance and mental illness. And at that weird level of money where your mental illness is allowed to just wreak havoc on your life. You have enough money that people aren't stopping you. Yeah. Too rich to care, too rich to be affected. You know, he says a line and he sees money come in. He doesn't see the negative side of it, and he has no way to understand the negative side of it. It's like I don't see a reality in which I can take this person and explain to them the cause that they are causing. I'm sorry, the harm that they are causing. Just they just have to be stopped. They just got to be shot with the tranquilizer dart. I know how that is, Callie. When I used to write songs, I was just thinking about this the other day. They all were like code words at first, just like weird words that kind of described the emotion that I was going for, or a feeling, and then they would get their actual name like once they were done. But um, it's like the oh man, I love this. Was it Da Vinci? Fuck, who carved the statue of David? Michelangelo. Michelangelo said that David was already in the stone. He just had to chip him out. And like that principle of art I think is really cool. Man, I remember the days when Rush Limbaugh was the problem. It's such a weird and funny thing how like the whole right side just got supplanted by this new school of fucking shysters, man. Cause like Rush Limbaugh and them, or uh fuck. He was a comedian in the 90s and he had his own HBO show, but it's not Bill Maher. It's a guy who talks real fast and he talks like this, and he became a Republican and then he became a NFL guy. It's not Dennis Leary, it's Dennis something. Um and they were all at least pseudo intellectuals, right? Like they were all at least pretending at having the advantage on intelligence over liberals. Dennis Miller, thank you. Yes, yes, Dennis Miller. Um, Guys like that, like, and I can look at Dennis Miller, and I can look at Rush Limbaugh, and I can look at like Dry Eyes. Wow, like he became a weird right side Christian dude too. Um, and like, oh really? That's awesome. Um, Like, these guys were that old school of like money. Women don't know what they're talking about. Should fucking stay out of politics. Uh, and liberals are just idiots who want to sit and sing kumbaya and chain themselves to trees. And they were easy to argue with. You could have a debate with them about a thing. The new school, the alt-right, because they're not the right, that was the right, this is the new right. This fucking... these insane fucking race realists and ethnostate and crypto fash and fucking national Bolshevism and like fucking That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Parenting is the most important job on the planet next to keeping Gary Busey off of the nation's highways. Not wrong. Not wrong. Gary Busey is in this movie where he dies. He's a real big businessman, and he dies, and he doesn't like dogs, so he gets put in the body of a dog, and he has to like do good, I guess. It's Gary Busey for like an hour and a half just running around being insane. Just being Gary Busey. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I like people with big teeth. So he's on my list. Gary being Gary. That's true. Old scary Gary. So last night I did purple on this boy, who is coming along more and more. I'll take some good pictures of him today in the light. Really? I understand that. If my daughter really liked Gary Busey, I'd be concerned. You should be concerned. If your daughter comes home with a man anything like Gary Busey, so it's best to nip that in the bud. A day with Gary Busey would be excellent. Very excellent. I spent a day with the guy who was the villain in The Mask. He was also in Pulp Fiction. He's Zed. We did a lot of cocaine, and we talked a lot about 9/11. He had a big crush on my mom, too. It's weird. my drug dealer introduced us. He's like, you gotta meet this kid. Brought him over to me. I'm like, what's up? He's like, you gotta talk to this guy. You two need to talk about 9/11. I'm like, take a seat. Then we just got going. Next thing you know, it's the next day at 6 p.m. I'm like, well, should we go for drinks? It was love at first sight. He's a cool dude, and he's like he's just a weird looking guy, and that I think makes him handsome. I forget his name. Michael or something like that. It's like a really normal name. Now I gotta look it up. Peter Green. Peter. That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it was. He's a special guy, too. Special people. All right. It's 5 a.m., boys and girls. We can start. We can get started. Okay. Welcome to Storyteller Masters Class, or Dungeon Master Class, as I like to call it. So, today we are just going to talk about fundamentals. I put the fun in fundamental. These are things that I want to cover before we go into the thick of it. These are the basic building blocks from which I determine that a story is good, is bad, or that your performance of it as a storyteller, as a game master, as a dungeon master was successful or failed. A lot of people, if you want to get real postmodern about shit, you know, what's a bad story, man? But a bad story you can feel it when you're on the other side, and it sucks. So to avoid that, there are certain techniques and skills that you can use. So the first, I've got a whole bullet point list here. I'm going to go down and I'm just going to talk point by point, and a lot of stream of consciousness, but I've had this in my head for several years, and just stick with me. It is all going somewhere. So, fundamental principle number 1 is story and storytellers. There are stories. There are storytellers. This isn't a hard concept to understand, right? That there is the Curse of Strahd, owned by Wizards of the Coast, right? There is the Tomb of Annihilation, written by Gary Gygax, right? So you can grab onto any of these stories and go through them. And if you suck at telling stories, it's just gonna be bad. No matter what. It just is. Now, if you have a really good storyteller and you give them a really bad story, they can still do something with that. So a lot of the advice that I'm going to give and the techniques that I'm going to try to explain have everything to do with making you a better storyteller, and very little to do with trying to help you make better stories. If you're looking for tips on world building and writing, this is not what this is. nor is this really, tips on acting. Right. Actual content is over here. Your ability to deliver that content is what we want to focus on. There will be times when because I can assume that you are the one crafting this story, there are times when those will intersect a little bit. I know, hey, as the storyteller, you have the ability to grab this story and change it live. If you don't use that ability, you're stupid. Well, but in using that, it kind of makes you part and parcel story writer as well. And you want to come into these things with good stories. The more you prepare, the better. But practicing in the long term techniques to make you a better storyteller is going to get you a lot more mileage. Excuse me. Rule 1A, keep water nearby. Okay, so fundamental principle number 2, unity of effect. So when we get to the concept of what's a good story and what's a bad story and what's a good storyteller and what's a bad storyteller, unity of effect is something, I think it was coined by Poe, actually. And it's the distance between the effect you want to have on your audience and the effect you actually have on your audience. So, using Edgar Allan Poe as an example, he wanted to write horror, scary stories. So if you're reading it and you're laughing and you have a big smile on your face, the unity of effect would be very low. It was intended to be a horror. The actual effect is comedy. These are really far apart. If he writes a horror and someone is sitting there and they start sweating and he notices their heart is racing and they're glancing around nervously, he wanted to scare them. They look like they're afraid. The unity of effect is very, very high. So if I say, don't, insert yourself into your story or it's going to be bad, I don't want to get comments like, there's no such thing as a bad story, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, no shit. Everyone knows that. How high is your unity of effect when you do that? Is it low? Then your story's bad. That's the metric I'm using. If you want to debate that metric with me, sure. It would be a waste of time because we're trying to make you better at something. So to erase the concept of being bad at that thing kind of erases the need to become better at the thing. It erases your barometer for measuring how well you performed and how well you did. So in utilizing unity of effect, it's very useful before a performance to know what effect you're going for and to actually take account of what the effect was. Whether that is actually in writing down paper notes that say, my players or my audience, looked scared. They were laughing. They were getting very passionate. And mapping that to what you were doing at that time can help you understand the unity of effect that you have. So that's a term you're going to hear me use a lot. And the last fundamental principle that I got to get out is no dry runs. No dry runs. When you have the runs, it's always wet. No. Yes. Ew. But no. Play through your own game before you force other people to. Is that weird? Is that difficult? Why do I not know any other dungeon masters that like do this. I guess it's mentally kind of awkward, you know? If you are performing on stage or something, a very, very, very useful tool is to record yourself and then watch that recording later, the next morning, when you feel detached from the actions that you actually took. Yeah, very much so. Practice makes competency. You want, if you're, if we're talking about a role-playing game or something like that, it might seem weird to do a dry run through or a rehearsal or practice, but a lot of times what I will do is literally just sit and read my lines out loud by myself here in my room. You enter the hallway, and as you walk, the ice crunkles under your feet and a cold wind wraps around the corner. Cool. Great. Wonderful. And then I sit and I envision this thing. And I go, I am a player. How do I want to fuck this up? If you don't have the ability to do that, maybe recording, maybe sitting with a friend and going through it and having them, run through possible solutions and scenarios with you. I have a dungeon where there's 3 keys and you come in and there's a door with 3 locks. So the players have to get all 3 keys. What happens when the boss gets home? Oh. Well, he has his own copy of the 3 keys. What happens if they just ambush him? Oh. I guess he doesn't have keys. He teleports in. Oh, okay, that's fine. You just want to know that that's how that works. Because if you can't think like a player, get some players to help you. Players behave kind of predictably in these ways, and you will get better at putting your brain in the player's seat, so to speak. I also really like the concept of work on 1 or 2 campaigns and run them over and over and over again with different groups, because this will not only reveal to you how players solve certain problems that you throw at them in your campaign, but you'll see the range of possible solutions. The 3rd, 4th time you've run a dungeon puzzle, you're going to see a lot of different attempts at solving it, and you're going to see which ones get repeated the most, which then allows you to signal earlier on whether that's going to be useful or not. You see a sign at the beginning of the dungeon and it says, "Don't bring fire in here," right? Whatever it is. And you can't know that until you've lived in your world a little bit. When you write a world, when you do world building, a lot of world building is actually history building with no acknowledgement of the present or future. If you don't understand how time moves on the things that you have in your game, you're not going to account for it. And when the game isn't running, time isn't moving. So you map out a whole dungeon that you want to run, and you're looking at it on paper. Nothing is moving. The bad guys that are in room A stay in room A until the players do something. Then the bad guys move from room A to room B to attack the players because they tripped an alarm. That doesn't happen until players play the game, unless you virtually run it in your head. Okay, I'm the player. I come through, I trip this alarm, that makes them go off. What if I don't trip the alarm? What if I find a way to disable it? What are they doing when I come around the corner? Well, why aren't they walking around the dungeon already? Well, they're cooking. Okay, well, how long would they be cooking? What if the players camp outside? An hour later, are they still cooking? What if a player rounds the corner to see what they're doing? They see that they're cooking. They leave the cave. They come back the next day. Are they cooking at the exact same time? If time doesn't move, you can't see these things. So you kind of have to find a way to virtually move through time in your world. And that's why I kind of call it living in it. You have to drop into it and actually walk around these rooms in your head and interact with things and say, you know, like you would as a player. Your dungeon master has described a room to you and you are envisioning it. And you are saying, is there a book I can pull off the shelf? Is there a button behind the fireplace? Is there a sword hidden in the, you know, couch? You are mentally interacting with all the objects in the room. A dungeon master is just mentally placing the objects and moving on to the next room, unless they take this step. And I kind of reworded this like 3 different ways, because that's how important this one is. It's the number one thing I just do not see people do enough of at all. And I think that practicing your gray box speeches or whatever, you know, things you're going to read off to your audience, practicing movements that you want to do, practicing voices that you want to use, and actually running through these imagined spaces as though you were interacting with them are all components to don't do dry runs of your game. I mean, would you build a haunted house and then just charge people to walk in it after like no one has ever tested it at all? You don't even know if it's scary at all. How can you know? You've not walked through it and been a visitor to your own haunted house. You just built it. It's not scary. So that's a big one. It's a fun house. Yeah. It's something. So let's talk about the unique structure that is interactive storytelling. So interactive storytelling is often, I'm not going to say always for this one, episodic. It's played out over a series of sessions that all contribute to something larger. This kind of brings about interesting questions, and you know this is something I guess that is also true of single time performances or whatever the case may be. You are going to have limitations based around that. So for example, if it is a single performance, that is your limitation. You need to deliver all of your content in one session and not have people get bored and not have people walk out and have people remember it afterward. You can't have the best part at the beginning so everyone's forgotten it by the end. All sorts of things like that. And if you're doing something that's multiple sessions, you have to understand that how long is your session? Oh, it's 4 hours. Well, we spend the first hour really getting into the game and getting into character. So nothing in the very beginning of the game is ever going to really hit very hard. You know, the last 30 minutes, everyone's cleaning up already because they want to leave. So everyone's a little distracted. So if I deliver any information in that last 30 minutes, it's less likely that they're going to hear it. Things like that all kind of go together to form the type of presentation that you're doing. And thinking about the limitations of that frame can reveal the things that you are able to do to circumvent those limitations, you know, like where should you place your most interesting content within your night. If you're going to go meet with your friends to play Dungeons and Dragons tonight, at what point in the night do you have the big comet hit and the game changes? You know, is this a twist at the very end? Is this something that happens right at the beginning? All of that is based on the format of, you know, your episode structure. There are things that have taken advantage of this structure already. There's some really great examples out there, like most cartoon shows, like we're going to say the Flintstones or Scooby-Doo, right? Everything on Scooby-Doo wraps up by the end of the episode. So that way, at the beginning of the next episode of Scooby-Doo, nothing has changed. If Velma loses her glasses, by the end of the episode, Velma will have her glasses back. Then you have the opposite of that, which is something like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones. Each episode is dependent on the last one. You're slowly building up to something bigger. You might have some episodes that are slow and boring. You might have some episodes that are action-packed and crazy, and all of them added together form the story. If someone just showed up for one session, there's no way it would be possible for them to comprehend the whole thing. Then there's something like a hybrid. One of the best examples of that I've been able to think of is the anime Cowboy Bebop, where you have some episodes that are revealing the backstory of these characters and where they're heading. You have some episodes that advance the plot, and then you have a lot of episodes that don't and are just wrapped up by the end. Everything goes back to how it was. Every 5th or 6th episode, suddenly you have a plot episode. Another example of that, but kind of pushed toward the opposite way, is in a lot of anime, they'll do B plots, where they'll give you the entire backstory of some character that you didn't care about in the middle of like a huge fight. A huge anime fight, and now all of a sudden you have some weird side episode where like they're all chibi characters. Bleach used to do this a lot, where all of a sudden you're just in a different thing. And you're like, okay, I guess what was happening in Heko Mundo is just on hold then? Cool. And that's a very, I would not recommend that format. That, I feel like, is what happens when you just do not know which format you want to be. You just stumble into random ones. And let me be fair, in a game of Dungeons and Dragons, that can happen. Like, if we're playing and then I kill everyone's characters, I might say, we don't want the campaign to end there. Here's what I'm going to do. We're